Okay, this sharing that I'm doing now from this seminar is decisions can change your life. Now, I know when I'm listening to other people, I like stories. I want to hear about other people. I want to hear what this is all about. And stories get me in. So I'm going to go straight into the stories to show you how decisions can bring life and fulfillment, or stress and regret. It can make you feel trapped and blocked and you don't know why. So the one that came to me this morning yet again, and some of you have heard this one, but I'm going to repeat it. Such a powerful one. Somebody I'd known for a long while said her daughter-in-law couldn't get pregnant. Would I see her? Now, I've been working with people for 25, 30 years now as a facilitator and seen amazing things under the guidance of the wonderful counsellor. Get people to listen to themselves and then listen to the spirit of truth and wisdom and love within them. In this case, she came along and she was taken back to a memory. She couldn't understand why she couldn't get pregnant. No one could understand why she couldn't get pregnant. And as I helped her, or the wonderful counselor got in touch with her feelings and her beliefs, as a result of that, because that's always the blocks, we need to listen to the feelings and the beliefs and the thoughts. The wonderful counsellor brings it up effortlessly. She then was suddenly in a memory. Oh, she said, I have a memory of when I was a teenager. And I don't know whether she was having a bad time with other people who had kids that were cranky or whatever. It didn't matter. Because in that scene and in that memory, because memory, that was unresolved, she was made aware in that memory what she felt, what she thought, and as a result of that situation, she had made a decision. She said, I see it so clearly now. I made the decision then. I never want children. And I said, well, because your creator transcends time, you have a choice now to release yourself and your body and your whole being from that and just renounce it. Let it go. Say sorry and ask now for the wisdom and love of whatever is God's will for your life and your body and for your children. Whatever he wants for you is going to be best. So she felt totally at peace in that memory. And she came back. Now, I didn't know what the results were that until a year and a half later. I bumped into this woman who had brought along her daughter, I think the daughter and daughter-in-law. And she said to me, I have to tell you, Helen, I have to tell you. She said, my daughter-in-law, after you had that session, she got pregnant and she's now got a child. And it was so easy and effortless. It just flowed. That's one story I have never forgotten because they had tried everything. What about Jane? Jane, I went along to a group once and I was giving a talk and this woman came forward and I asked the wonderful counsellor, is there a divine counsellor, to bring up what he wanted to bring in her mind's eye and in her memory that needed to be resolved, where he wanted her to experience peace and presence. Well, she went back to a childhood memory when she was in school. And she said, I can see it so clearly. I'm only young, I'm in the classroom. And she said, the teacher is really ugly from the point of view of anger. And she said, and my teacher was just going at me. I don't know why the teacher was targeting me. I think I just tried to answer a question. And she was so horrible to me. The words she said and the way she spoke to me, she said, I felt ashamed, belittled, embarrassed. And she said, I felt totally stupid. In fact, she had actually split in that memory and there was darkness in her memory. And then the light came in as we resolved those feelings and the beliefs was, I'm stupid. And she made a decision. I will never, ever ask or answer a question again in public. That was a way of protecting herself from ever feeling embarrassed, belittled, and ashamed. So that memory was still alive and there was a darkness in it. There was still the memory alive. And as we took her through it, she actually experienced a light and she experienced a presence. That's why I say practice the presence of love daily. And as she did, I said, what do you feel now? Do you still feel stupid? What is the truth here? And she said, no, it's just not relevant in this presence, in this light. And I said, what about the embarrassment and all the feelings, negative feelings? She said, they've all gone. And she said, I said, when you look at the teacher and that memory now, what do you see? Because the memory remains, but the pain goes. And she was able to renounce the decision. And she said, I feel sorry for the teacher. She was a real mess. And then she understood why for years at university, although she wanted to ask questions or answer questions, she would never be able to. She felt locked and trapped up. And it was all because of that decision. And the last story is about Lewis. Wonderful mother, but the mother had lost a child. He was the only child. She'd also had trauma as a child with losing some her family, part of her family. And she had become overprotective. Fine when the child, Lewis, was young, but when he got into the teenage years, Lewis found it overprotective, smothering, suffocating. The mother was just not letting Lewis go. And Lewis made a decision then, because no matter what Lewis said to his mother to try and say, Mum, what's the truth here, Mum? Listen to me. Mum wouldn't listen because she was too frightened. Anyway, as he looked at this memory, he realized that he had made a decision to step back from his mother and not talk to her anymore. Just do the practical things day to day, but never share with her again because he felt he couldn't trust her. He felt that she would try and interfere and overprotect him, block him going out or whatever else. And it was years and years later that he realized this great distance between he and his mother. And he realized that decision that he'd made not to share anymore, not to speak. And as he did, and Lewis shared this with me, I said, why don't you go and have a chat with your mum? Because she actually shared with me one day how separate she felt and how much pain, how close they'd been and how separate they'd become. And she had no idea why. They had the chat and it was resolved and she stepped back and their relationship began to mend as he relinquished the decision. He began to talk to her and everything began to be resolved. They're three of so many stories. Which a decision is a reaction to pain and suffering, or it wants to take us, as it can be protective and guarding, or a decision is when we want life to change and we make a decision. How many of you hear about children, you see them on TV, etc., who have made a decision at the age of 5, I want to be a famous astronaut or a singer or whatever. And sometimes they achieve that because they make a decision and they focus on it and that actually comes to be and they share it much later on. So they're good decisions for life. Another decision that was really not good was when Francis decided to make a decision that he was going to get all the money he could possibly accumulate because his father had taken his money away when he was a young child that he'd accumulated from working hard. And he said, I need money and I'm going to have money and money's going to make me feel free. It trapped him. He lost it all at the end of his life and he realized it. He said to me, I realize now that I lack wisdom. I didn't see and I didn't understand. All that striving, all that money he gained and all of it went and he was left empty and alone. But there was a wisdom that came to him right at the end. So, limiting, blocking decisions bring stress and regret. They block you, they trap you. Are you blocked in any area of your life? Do you feel trapped? Do you feel like you want to do something? I know I have. And I'm thinking, I want to do it, but yet there's another part of me that doesn't want to do it. So you're split. Anyone feel like this? Just nod your head. Put your hand up. Yeah. So I remember the reason the limiting, blocking decisions that bring stress and regret and block, as I keep saying, is from these decisions. Now see if you relate to any of them, or see if they trigger off in you. These are the decisions you may have made, but you may have forgotten. But through the meditation and the releasing meditation, it will come up if you're open. I'll never forgive. Ever heard of people saying that? I'll never forgive, yeah. And that is because people have said to me, why would I forgive? They don't deserve forgiveness. What they don't realize is when they don't forgive, they retain all the pain. It separates, and that acts as a block to peace and presence and mercy. And they often, I've found out, end up doing the same thing in some other way, and they're blind to it because they're kind of like in the dark. I'll never forget. And it's like poison to our body. It keeps us stiff and locked up, creates arthritis, etc., etc. It's resistance. It's not open. It brings a burden. We feel angry. And all we have to do is actually resolve our feelings. That's what we do in Agape Encounter. We just let all the negative feelings come up, all the negative beliefs, and then we choose to forgive. It's a choice. After we've emptied. I didn't know that once. I used to try and forgive, and I just saying, why can't I get over this? Because I hadn't listened to my own feelings and my own beliefs and allowed that to be an opportunity to encounter. So I'll never trust anyone again. People who have been abused, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in whatever way. When we've gone back into the memory, they have made that decision. That's a reaction to the pain suffered. When they release that, and quite often when I'm working with them and facilitating them, what I'll say to them, I'm not asking you to trust, because I realise how badly they've been hurt. So have you made that decision? I will never trust. All I ask people to do is to listen to the spirit of justice, because people won't trust. They will usually listen to the spirit of justice from our Creator. And that way they become unlocked. As they just listen, trust begins to build little by little by little as they share and they listen to the spirit of justice and truth and wisdom, and they feel freer and lighter. Another limiting, blocking decision. I'll make it all right. I made that decision. And that came out of me having a very disturbed childhood. I said to one of the family members recently, I said, was it that bad? Because, some of the things we did were really good. And I'm thinking, was it really all that bad? And I think it's because I had so much freedom, so much healing happened from within me over the years. And I look back and my siblings said to me, yeah, it was really that bad. There was that much tension and there was that much. So I went on in my life and I made the decision that I'm going to have the happiest family, the healthiest family, etc. And that decision actually trapped me and put me under a huge burden and a stress. And there's a drivenness in it. It comes from fear. So if any of your decisions come from fear, they're trapping you and they need to be acknowledged with the feelings and they need to be released. So any decisions that come up today. So I let go of that decision and I realized I needed to step back and let the one who wants to be responsible for bringing order out of the chaos that was in my life as a child, in those memories, and order in my own family. And it's happened bit by bit by bit as I've been listened to myself and listened to those unresolved memories. My external life has changed. So if you don't do it, you get overwhelmed, resentful, you're struggling, you're battling, you're exhausted, you're frustrated, you're angry, and you feel like you're not appreciated and you're used. There's some of the consequences. Reckon that's stress? I reckon that's stress. So what can you do? I'm saying it again. You can actually come aside and whoever you relate to, whether it be the wonderful counselor, the spirit of truth, Jesus, God, spirit of justice, you can ask him to show you all your negative feelings, all your negative beliefs, and wait and listen. And if you need to let go of a decision that you've made from that, he'll show you that decision. You don't even have to go looking. He'll just show you, is there anything blocking? Because that's one of the big blocks. And just all you have to do is listen and then you can release it, and then you can experience the truth, and you experience a presence and a light. And people, a guy said to me last week, what did he say? He said, I am forever indebted for what I have just experienced after 30 years of being full of pain and being stuck, and also reacting to his childhood, dramatic, awful childhood. And he was still reacting out of that and creating more problems. So he had these wonderful, wonderful breakthroughs, which I'm hoping you'll have today. Okay, decisions that bring fulfillment in life. Let's go on the bright side of life. Just for a change. And you know about these, but I'm just going to mention them quickly. I'm giving you a heap of information today in a nutshell. There's a little pamphlet about this that's on our website. So you can go to that, and you can go to practical guidelines in the resources area, and you can download it for $1. So you can go back and look at it. Decisions that bring fulfillment in life. These are the ones that I had to make a decision to do, because I was sick of reacting. I was sick of feeling things so deeply. Not all the time, but just every now and then I'd be triggered off and I'm thinking, oh, not again. What do I do with myself? So these were the decisions: to be open and honest about my fears, my feelings, my thoughts, and my beliefs and my reactions, but only in the presence of unconditional love, who is the wonderful counselor, only under the one who lives within you, who wants to reveal it and make it easy. I find a lot of people don't even know what they feel. They don't even know what they think. So just ask him to do the work for you. Okay. With the forgiveness, a young girl I work with whose father had abused her sexually, we got to the stage and she said, I want to forgive him. I'm so sick of this. I want it over and done with. I don't want to feel like this shame and blame anymore. So I just said quietly to the wonderful counselor, now what do I do? She didn't know I said that, because I'm always learning and growing myself. And I just got the words in my head, use my forgiveness. So I said, would you be willing to use the forgiveness that Jesus gave everyone though he was being abused in a physical way, in an emotional way, when all he'd done was good? Are you willing, even if you don't believe in him, just to accept his capacity to say, forgive them? Let it flow through you to your Father, so his capacity flows through you. And she said, I'm willing to do anything. I'll say yes. And that's what you've got to do. And she said, oh my God, it's gone. I look at the memory and all that shame and everything, just in her case, just absolutely melted away. And she felt so different. It was a memory, but without the pain. So use his forgiveness. Make a decision. Use all your gifts and talents. Most people don't do it because they're full of fear. They're frightened of failing or being a failure, or they're frightened of people ridiculing them. Have a go. Do it for the good of others. Do it for yourself. Do it for not to be noticed or make yourself better, but just do it and use your gifts and talents and share it with others. I'm doing stuff I never thought I would do, and it's really cool. I mean, I'm getting older and life gets better and I become freer in my mind. It's just great. So use your gifts and talents that you've been given naturally for the good of all. That's a decision. I can't actually say to you, make a decision to unconditionally love everyone, because you don't have to like them, but you're called to love them. But you can't do it. Well, I couldn't do it in my humanity, but what you can do is you can ask the spirit of unconditional love who's within you. I ain't got the capacity, but I ask you, just like the forgiveness, to flow through me and let your love flow through and love them. And people have been touched by that. And I'm thinking, that wasn't me. They can feel the energy and the presence. Replace a bad habit with a good habit, just one. Make it an adventure. Have fun with yourself. Do not beat yourself up. No judgments, no condemnations ever of yourself, because you split. And then you have part darkness, part light, and life's hard. Just replace one bad habit. Ask the wonderful counselor. He wants to be your teacher. And the last one is to listen and respond to the words of wisdom and the word of God. They're all there, but you need to discern them with the Spirit, because sometimes we read them through our brokenness and they sound ominous and bad, like I used to. Ask Him for His perspective, how He wants you to see it, and just meditate on it. And that's like a guideline. That's a decision to make that a guideline. Then life is in general, and this is, I'm talking from experience, and so are the team. Life becomes in general easier. Relationships change. Most of the people have either left my life, which is kind of sad because I had I thought I had a good relationship with them for whatever their reason is, and I bless them. Or else the ones that were a real pain in the whatever and were just always judging me, no longer judge and condemn me. The ones who've stayed and they now respect me. I've said this before. That is a miracle from where it used to be, because I've stopped judging myself. So give up the judgments, make a decision. Last one before we finish, because this information is a huge amount all at once. I hope you've just taken on one thing. What's one thing that's speaking to you? And then you can go and get the pamphlet and you can look at it from time to time. Are you a procrastinator? Do you procrastinate? Do you sit on the fence? You do nothing. You avoid. You're unproductive. Are you indecisive? Do you struggle, agonize, avoid? You're paralyzed with fear? Because usually the belief in that is, I'm not going to make a decision, because if I make a decision and I'm wrong, I'll feel wrong about myself and I'll feel bad. So we're constantly in avoidance. And you know, those beliefs, wrong, bad, responsible, guilty, shameful, all just need to be taken to the wonderful one who's creator of order out of the chaos. And He wants to do that in your heart. So when you need to practically make major decisions in your life, this is a practical suggestion, and I'm finishing on this. That is, put the advantages of that decision, the disadvantages, and the consequences of both. So the advantages, disadvantages, and the consequences. Have a good look at them, of those major decisions. But then I would always, and I always do, go back and say, wisdom, I ask that you open this door in my life and you just really give me the grace to move forward in this, or else close it. And He does, effortlessly, when I don't know for sure. But I sort of go back and I ask His will to be done, which is wisdom and love and truth. So all decisions can be an opportunity from where you can learn and grow. Go forward or stay trapped. Your choice. And Romans 8:28 says, I will bring all things to good for those who love me and live according to my word. I didn't know how to do half of that once, but I made a decision to begin. I made a decision. I make a decision every day to do what I've told you and shared with you. I make a decision, then when I get upset, I take myself aside and deal with it. I make that, there's a decision. It's becoming truly responsible, and my life continues to change. And when there's a massive blow up, I no longer react. I'm able to go aside and I'm able to really feel at peace. In fact, someone said to me the other day, I'm sorry, I was really, really off the planet then, but you were so calm and quiet. And that is the fruit of doing what I'm sharing with you, which has been an ongoing journey for 20 years. So I hope this has encouraged you. Can you think, just before I finish, I'm going to ask you just to pause for a moment, and I'm going to ask the Spirit of wisdom and love to show you what is the one thing to do with decisions that I've mentioned that struck a key in you. A decision you're not making, a decision you've made that's blocked you. Just think about it. And you have someone within you who will be your teacher, your guide, your friend, your savior. I tried to save the world once. Don't do it. Not a good idea. So just let's work together as he's a shepherd and I'm like a little child. I hope you enjoyed this sharing, this insight that I share with you. It's changed my life, continues to do so, because I know that when I put it into practice, it just changes the energy in my household, in my family, in my relationships. So thank you for listening.